Let us create the next method to update our cart. The logic is somewhat similar to this one. So let me copy and paste all of this. This has to be update. Let me change the documentation. So this becomes to update an existing item, and this one becomes not in the cart, and do you want to purchase instead? Now let's see the logic for this one. We can update an item only if it is existing. So let's do that right over here. So let us change from not in to just in. So if we have that item, only then let us try and update it. But before we can update that item, we need to get the old item back, and we also need to decrease from the invoice total. So here we can say that my old item is equal to my self dot items, and I want to retrieve a specific item, and this item would be my item dot name. So let us go back to our IPython and let's see what's happening over here. We are just trying to retrieve a data. So this is our existing register, and suppose we want to get all of the details for eggs. Suppose we want to update the discount or the quantity and so on. Before we can update, we need to retrieve it first. So I can say my egg details. First I want to go to my register. Now since this is a dictionary, I want to access my key, and the name of my key is items, and inside items I want to access another key. This time the name of the key is eggs. You can see right over here we have a key called as eggs. So this will retrieve the value for this one. Let us see what's happening. Oh, there is a syntax error, so this has to be a square bracket. Let us try to print the egg details now, and we have the details in place. And that's what we are doing right over here. We are simply trying to retrieve an item from its key. Now remember, the keys are always string values. So if you go right over here, you can see items is a dictionary and the key is a string. This string is the name of the item. So that's what we want. After we have the old item, we also need to decrement its value. So we can say self, I want to decrement the value, and I simply need to pass an item. So let us pass just the old item. On the next line, we are going to create a new item with the updated quantity and discount, and we are going to add that item back to our register. So all of this logic remains the same. Let us go to the next part and let us see how we can delete an item. But first let me go back to my IPython shell and let me show you how to delete an item from a dictionary. Let me clear all of this and let us print our register one more time. So you can see register has a key of items, and inside these items we have two another items. One is for apple and one is for our eggs. Suppose we want to delete apple. Let's see how to do that. The way to do that is by using a keyword called as delete, and after this we simply need to specify which key we want to delete. So I want to say I want you to go to my register. From register I want you to access my items, and once inside my items I want you to delete my key of apple, and that's it. Now if we try to print a register, and you can see we have deleted apple. Let's use this syntax right over here to delete an item from our register right over here. Let me copy and paste all of this. Let me take a little up. The name is remove. We don't need the quantity and the discount. We just need to know the item that we are supposed to delete. Let me update the documentation. So this is going to be removes item from our cache register. We don't require this as well. Now let's see the logic. We can delete an item only if it is existing, and that's what we are checking over here. So we need this logic in place. Since we are not creating any item, we can delete all of these things. Here we are retrieving an item. The next line we are decrementing the invoice total. Now we simply have to delete it from our dictionary, and we have already seen the syntax. So we can say I want to delete from my items, and the key would be my item dot name. And let us see what else is remaining. Let me go back to my document, and we have to implement these methods get invoice total and display, which are pretty simple. Let's create the first one. We can say get invoice total. This takes a self and this returns a float. Let me add some documentation, and here we simply have to return self dot underscore invoice total. The last one is to display our invoice. So let us create some pretty looking output. So I can say display my invoice, takes the self and it returns nothing. Let us try to visualize how our invoice would look like. Now this is the code from my GitHub repository. I'm inside my projects and project number 1. If I run this file, I have a output, and this is how our invoice would look like. So on the first line, we would like to have a nice separator followed by the customer details and followed by the date of the purchase. So let us go back and let us do all of these things. Here we can create a nice separator line by using a print statement, and I would just like to say that this is my separator multiplied by 70 times. So what this is going to do, it is going to repeat this symbol for 70 times. Before this, let us insert a blank line. So we have a nice spacing in place. Next, let us see what we want. We want the customer details and the date. So we can just go back, and here on the next line, I can simply say I want to print self. And if you see our str method, that's what we are doing right over here. So this is our string method, customer, and followed by the total items, and that's what we want right over here. The next line is for the date. So let us go down, and on the next line we can say I want to print my date, and we already have it. So I can say self dot purchase date. Now remember, in some of the earlier videos we formatted this date and time according to the month, day and the year. That's what we are going to do right now as well. So I can use the method called as string format time, and let us give us a format. So this format stands for the month, the day and the year. Let's see what we need next. Next we require one separator, and after the separator we require all of the items. So let's get back and let me copy this line from here. Let me change the separator from plus to a dash, and the next line we want to print all of the items. That's pretty easy. So I can just say for my item in my self dot items dot values. Let us print out the item, and this has to be brackets because we want to get the values out of our dictionary. Next, let us see what we want. So we require one more separator, total price, and one last separator. So let's do that. Let me copy and paste this right over here. On the next line we can see that my total price would be in dollars, self dot get invoice total, and let us display only 2 decimal points. So I can say colon, and I want 2 decimal points for my float, and that's it. Let us go back and check. Oh no, we require one more separator. So let me copy this and paste it right over here. Now we have a way to display our invoice as well. We are using multiple print statements, but if you want, you can use a template, or you can also use a multi-line string as well, but this is much more simple for now. Now let's get back to our document. So we have everything in place. Let us check what's remaining. So code, we have cash register in place. Now we just need to find out a way to interact with our cash register. So that means we just need to create a client that can interact with our register. So let me create a new file. Let me name it as register.py. So this would be our client file. And here obviously first we need to import our cash register. So let me collapse my sidebar and I can say from the module of cash register, I simply want to import my cash register. Then we also need a customer. So I can say from my module of customer, I need customer. The last thing I want is the item. So I can say from item, let's import item. Let's create the first item. So let us create milk. So we can say milk is an item. Let's give it an ID of 100. The name would be just milk. Price could be $4.5 and the measurement unit can be a liter. Let us create our customer as well. So I can say my customer 1 is my customer. The first name is Louis. The last name is Zappa. Now this customer is going to the store and making an purchase. So let us create a cash register for Louis. So we can say this is my cash register number 1. We simply have to give the customer and that is our customer number 1. Let us try to print out our cash register right now. So I can say print my cash register 1. Let me save it and let me try to run this file. So right now the customer is Louis Zappa and the total number of items is 0, and that's true because we have not yet added any items. So let's get back and let's make Louis purchase something. So here we can say that my cash register 1, I simply want to add an item and the item I want to add is my milk. Now we can give some additional arguments as well, the quantity and the discount. Right now let us go with the default values and let us try and save and run this file. Now we can see we have one item on our invoice. Let us go back. Let us create some more items. Let us create one as egg. So I can say item, the ID could be 101, the name is egg, the price could be 99 cents for one egg, the measurement unit is for a piece. Then we can make one for rice. We can say item, ID could be 102, name is rice, price could be $4 for a kg. Let's create one last one, maybe for an apple. We can say item, ID could be 103, the name is apple, maybe it is for $5.67 for a kg. Now let us make Louis purchase some other items as well. Suppose Louis also wants to purchase eggs. So we can say cr1.add items. So Louis wants to buy some eggs. Suppose this time he is purchasing 12 eggs. And for a quantity of 12 eggs, there is a discount of 50 cents. That's it. Let us save the file and let us try to run this. So this time we can see we have 2 items in our invoice. A little better way to display the invoice could be by using our inbuilt function. So let me take it out and let me say cr1. I want to display my invoice. Now let us try to run this file. So this time we have a much better output. So we can see the customer is Louis Zappa. There are 2 items. This is the date of his purchase and these are the items. Remember, for the egg we specified the quantity was 12 and there was a discount of 50 cents. That's what we have over here. Here you can see we have only one item, so the subtotal is 450. For this one we have 12 items minus the discount, and so the subtotal is right over here. And right over here we have the total price as well. Let's try to play a little bit more with this one. Let's try to update one item. So suppose Louis thinks that 12 eggs are like a lot and he wants to buy only 10 eggs. So we can say I want to update my eggs, and this time the quantity is 10. But fortunately the store is in a good mood and the store is offering a discount of say $1. So let us save it and give it a try. So you see we have an updated quantity of 10, discount of $1, and we also have an updated subtotal as well, and automatically the total price also gets updated. Let us go back and let us try to add one more item. Suppose this time Louis wants to buy some rice. Maybe he wants to buy 3 kgs of rice, and there is a 75% discount on this one. So let me save this and let us run the file. So this time we have 3 items and we also have rice in our items as well. Let us go back. Now let us see if we try to add an item which is already existing, then what happens. So let me copy and paste this one, save, and let us try to run the file. So here you can see we get the prompt saying that rice is already in cart. Do you want to update instead? So you can see all of our code is working beautifully. And if you see right over here, nothing is changed. Everything is just as before. Let us go back. Now what happens if we try to update an item which does not exist? So suppose we say that we are trying to update an item. Maybe we are trying to update for apple, and the quantity could be 10, the discount could be 0. So let me save it and let me try to run this one. So again we get a nice message saying that apple not in cart, purchase instead. And if you see the invoice, it's just as before. There are no changes to our items. So let us go back. So right over here we can say that we want to remove eggs, and let us try to display our invoice after removing as well. So let me copy this and let me paste right over here. Let me run this file. So here you can see this is the earlier invoice. In this invoice we have eggs, and this is the next one. When we remove, we don't have eggs in our invoice. So you can see we can also remove an item from our invoice. I also wanted to show one more trick right over here. We can also create an alias for customers. Suppose there is a big application and there are 2 files, and inside both of the 2 files we have a class of customer. Then we can create an alias. So we can just say that I want to import customer as my customer, and we simply have to update one line over here. So this, instead of a customer, this will be called as my customer. Just save your file, and if you try to run it, everything works smoothly. Let us go back and let us create one more customer just for the last time. So we can say my customer 2 is my customer, and first name is Chico, her surname is Neutron. Let us create a cash register for this one as well. So this is going to be my cash register for my customer number 2. Suppose she's purchasing some milk and the quantity could be 4 liters. Here I can also use my keyword syntax, so I can say my quantity would be 4, and suppose we have a discount of $10. Let us try to add one more item. So this time she wants to buy some eggs and the quantity is 25. Next she decides to update the quantity of eggs. So next time the quantity is 48. Now fortunately the store is offering a discount of $12 on the quantity of 48. Chico also wants to buy some apples, so let us buy some apples as well, and let us display the invoice. That's it. Let me save the file and let me try to run this file. So here we have the invoice for Chico. So Chico has 3 items: milk, egg, and apples. For the milk, the quantity was 4 liters. The updated quantity for eggs was 48, and for apples it was 8, and this is the total price. Now we have a beautiful program in place. Let us go back. I wanted to mention one point over here. If you see the code inside my GitHub, so this is the code downloaded from GitHub. My GitHub file has a couple of more methods. For example, if you go to cash register, I have a couple of extra methods. So all of this is extra. And I had to create these methods because I wanted to see the output in a dictionary format. So if you go to this document, I wanted to have the output in this format. So that is why I had to do a couple of more work. And that's the reason why you can see all of these methods. But I am not going to explain all of these methods inside this tutorial. If you want, you can give it an attempt and try and study what's happening. But to just give you a short idea, I am converting everything to a form of a dictionary, and finally I am exporting that dictionary to a JSON format. That's why I can have a nicely formatted output. Now if I go to this file register, so this is on my GitHub code. So here I'm using this method to JSON to have a nicely formatted output. Now if you run this file, I can get the output in the way I desired. I hope you learned something new in this video. Now this video had a lot of concepts and it was very densely packed. So if you don't understand any concept, you are not to be blamed. It's quite natural that it will take you some time to understand. Maybe you have to go through this video a couple of times. You will also need to have some better understanding of how to work with your dictionaries before you can understand what's exactly happening in this code. So this project is going to test all of your basic understanding of Python up till now. Now the next game would be much more easy to implement, and I will see you in the next video.